Hello, hello. Hope everybody's doing well. I'm just going to go ahead and get everybody live real quick. Going to bring up Instagram as well. Connect streaming software to go live. Done that. Here we go. What's up, guys? This is Paul Smith doing a AMA, stands for Ask Me Anything. What's today? Today is March 20th. A lot of stuff happening, dude. A lot of crazy things that we're going to talk about today. Everything from tariffs to the Austin market to the crypto market to what's happening with gold right now, which is nuts, to to South by Southwest and all the things that happened there too. I went into South by thinking I wasn't going to do anything this year, and all of a sudden started doing something. So it was a lot of fun. I got a call from Anderson Paak's people and said, "Look, we want to do something." And so that's kind of how that whole thing came together. Boom. All right, now I'm going live on Instagram. All right, here we go. Now we're coming up with Instagram. All those on Twitch, appreciate you guys. All those on Twitter, YouTube, guys, we're streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Instagram. Of course, Instagram is a little bit finicky when it comes up, as it's not necessarily designed for streaming with computers. Instagram's more designed to stream with, Instagram's designed to stream with your phone and whatnot. Also want to make sure that you guys can hear me out there if you can. Just checking in with everybody. Again, this is Paul Smith, real estate agent with 12 Rivers Realty. And did that do it? That did not do it. Boom. How about that? We're over here with some mild technical difficulties as we're trying to get this to go screen size here. But what's up? Cool. Sound is good. We're good there. Let me hit that. Guys, cool. And we're up and rolling. Dope. Guys, thanks for tuning in. This is Paul Smith with today's March 20th. I'm going to do did I just mess it up again? Awesome. Yeah, well, we're figuring it out over here. It's always a good time. We'll be all right. Guys, this is Paul Smith with 12 Rivers Realty. We're going to do a AMA today. Today's March 20th. Things we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about real estate. We're going to talk about the Fed. We're going to talk about South by Southwest. Man, we had a lot of fun during South by, and the dope thing is that we really weren't planning on doing anything, and just a bunch of shit just happened to fall in our lap, as sometimes it does, right? And so, I've gotten a lot of questions from people like, how did you make that happen? How did you get everything with Anderson Paak to happen within a matter of, oh, there it is, by the way. Figured it out. Just a button that says maximize. And how did I pull something together with Anderson Paak that I don't think I've ever seen that many people in Mayfair, or the fact that Mayfair was that much of a vibe within 24 hours. And dude, it absolutely went off, and it was a lot of fun. Cool. Pull up my Twitch folks real quick. Jump in here on X, because again, guys, we're live streaming on 4 different platforms right now, and so. Obviously for us, we want to make sure that everybody gets a chance to comment and whatnot. And also this is an Ask Me Anything. So I'd love to know what you guys are thinking. Are there any questions that you guys have? Shout out to Tyler in the chat, by the way. Ileana's in the chat. My wife Denise is in the chat. She said, "I'll ask you anything," which I absolutely believe she will. She's pretty good at not holding back in questions, specifically also when we're not on Instagram. But we actually have a couple different questions here. Somebody said the takeover was dope this year. How do you manage to pull these off so fast? Do you start planning early, or is this really all last minute? Oh, hey, Denise. This actually is all last minute, quite literally. In this case, I was not planning on doing anything for South by. I was thinking maybe do some after party stuff, and then all of a sudden, Thursday, Friday rolls around, you start to see people turning some dirt, building some stuff in Austin, and you start to kind of get that excitement about what's, kind of what's happening within the area. And so, so for me, it's like you get that kind of excitement. Then all of a sudden you get a phone call, And in this case, I got a call from a gentleman by the name of Eddie Mack, who manages DJ Pee Wee or Anderson Paak, and he's like, "Hey, Paul, we got a day off, and we'd like to do something." And I guess I had always said, like, I'm not doing anything, but if the right opportunity arises, I'm down. And so that was on Tuesday. I think it was about 6 o'clock. I was at jujitsu with Max as he just started jujitsu, and I was like, well, let's do this, right? So I called Omar over at Mayfair, and I said, Omar, I think we can make this happen. We came up with a price, and and then from there, funny where to start. Hilarious, by the way. Came up with a price, and then we're on, right? And at that point, team kicked out a flyer, and I think I posted it once. And dude, the whole thing too is with Anderson is because we weren't able to put him on the flyer, right? Because it was an unannounced guest. And I think one of the things with the takeover now is that it's like you never know who we're going to bring out. And in this case, dude, having Quali jump out, that surprised the shit out of me as well. I didn't even know he was in town, honestly, until I saw him on the guest list. I hit him up, I'm like, dude, you're in town, and you didn't fucking hit me up. I'm like, what the fuck, man? Like, and so yeah, so he came in, and obviously Zealy and Buck Rogers, they understand the assignment. Anytime you look back and you see an artist behind you, it probably makes sense to play their song because there's a better than average chance that they're going to grab a mic and they're going to do something with it, right? And so in this case, Quali jumped out there, he crushed Get By, and that just kind of really, the night really just took off at that point because ultimately, as you're building out lineups and everything else, you want the night to kind of step up. And we had DJ Umami from the Bay open it that day. And I don't know if y'all know DJ Umami, but go ahead and give her a follow. She's incredibly talented, amazing DJ. She DJs for the San Francisco Giants as well as subs in sometimes for the Warriors. And is just she's an OG in the game at this point, and I feel like she's kind of everybody's auntie within the DJ world. So she just set it off, and then we had Trackstar jump up next. Trackstar the DJ. Trackstar is the DJ for Run the Jewels, and was grateful he was in town. He had hit me up weeks before and was like, "Hey, I'm in town. Let me know if you're going to do something." Then next up at that point, he brought it up another level. And then the next level after that is Jumping Planets, where you have Buck and Zealy and their ability to control a crowd and their ability to get up. And I think every DJ at that point understood that you build. And then all of a sudden when Pee Wee came out, he absolutely slayed it. And I'll tell you, I've worked with AP now 3 different times. And during that time, what's up, or welcome and feedback. Hope you've been well. But dude, with AP, this is the 3rd time I've worked with him. And if you look at the video from let's call it the first time, the second time, and the third time, the range of their show has just drastically changed. And I was talking to Eddie about it. I'm like, dude, y'all have this shit dialed in. To the point at which where it almost feels like a comedian that's getting ready to do their Netflix special, right? So if y'all know much about comedians, they'll start testing out jokes, stuff like that, and then all of a sudden they'll start to refine the jokes with knowing that there's going to be some level of a Netflix special or stadium. It dawned on me we might hang out with different comedians, but a lot of the ones that we're hanging out with, they're doing Netflix specials, right? And so they're getting ready for that. So to watch that kind of the set mature over time is pretty dope. And that was the same thing with Pee Wee. And dude, I'll tell you what, man, I have never seen Mayfair go off like that. And I think I'll put that night at Mayfair against any night at Mayfair so far, because it didn't have that bottle service kind of stuffiness to it. It's like everybody there understood the assignment. Everybody was just there to dance and have a good time. And I don't know if y'all have checked the video and checked the tape, but dude, it absolutely went off, and AP absolutely killed it. Then you look up and you got Mo, the trumpet player, Maurice Brown. He's literally in the middle of the crowd doing little like call and response with Andy back and forth. And again, just the way that they have that show dialed in, it's absolutely phenomenal. The only thing is definitely sorry for Mayfair sound system, because dude, the old saying, if you ain't redlining, you ain't headlining. Well, dude, he took that to the full on. He went to the nth degree on that. Maybe a little bit too much. You guys, real quickly too, if you're listening in on X, watching in on X, please like and retweet the room. Go ahead and repost this if you're in here right now. Would love to give some love on that. And then also, guys, if you have any questions, again, this is a legit live stream AMA. Feel free to ask anything at this point, except for Denise. She's already going to be asking stuff. What's up, Ray? We got Crime by Design in the house. Ray, thanks for checking in, man. Dude, we missed you at South by this year. Also, Ray, dude, Dominic's coming in a couple weeks, dude. Maybe we'd love for you to come in as well and pop in so we could discuss kind of the different stuff we have coming on. But dude, again, this is an AMA. Still kind of recovering a little bit from South by, but man, what a week. Okay, let's say somebody else just asked, okay, how did you get Anderson .Paak to show up unannounced? Again, a lot of times the way that things work, a lot of times it's so last second with South by because people are in town. The one thing that is great about South by is that it brings a lot of creatives to a space where they're typically, like I call it like ships passing in the night, right? They'll come in, they'll do one show, maybe two shows, then they bounce out, they go to another city. It's rare that you have people in town for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days. And a lot of times, if you put a bunch of creatives in the room, they're going to create. Man, we got Scully time in the house. Man, feedback, we missed you out there, man. We know you'd been seeing you on the dance floor just popping and locking, as always. So again, how do we get Anderson .Paak to show up unannounced? That was something where they actually called me, which I'm grateful that I'm the guy that they call, and we made it happen. Let's see. Somebody just said, I love the venue the after party was held at. Is it available for rent? And is it private? Yes, it is available for rent. Go ahead and follow. It is, what is it? Is West House ATX? Go ahead and check out West House ATX. And West House, if you're in here, go ahead and give a quick shout out real quick. West House ATX is available for rent. It is a private venue that myself and Justin Bronya started. And dude, I tell you, I think for me, the after hours was my favorite, bar none. And what was so dope about it is that it was, if you know, you know, it was a bunch of artists and DJs and people that were in from out of town, people that were in the music industry or whatever industry they were in. And everybody got a chance to feel safe and just have a good time. And tell you, the lineup that I had that played at these after hour spots was phenomenal. I mean, this would be a headlining spot anywhere, but it was legit, felt like it was in a living room. It was amazing. Yes, it is available. We actually have an event there tonight, so let's see. Somebody says, every year the Takeover is better than any South by South event I went to. What's the secret to making these feel so exclusive but still open to everybody? I feel like it's hard to get into events like these. We got Aggie in the house. Aggie is a huge reason why all of my events are successful, so shout out to Agnes. The Takeover is better than any South by Southwest event. I don't know if that's true or not. For me, it's coming from a place of wanting to create community and just trying to continue to do dope shit. And that's the thing, right? Again, it's what works for me, I think in Austin in particular, is that as people come through Austin throughout the year, we try to host them and we try to show up for Austin and we try to basically be a good representation for folks in Austin. And what that does is that creates community. And so you'll even see a lot of tours take a day, so let's say they're going to do Dallas, Houston, and Austin. They'll actually take a day in Austin to hang out. They'll be able to get good. They know they're going to get good food. They're going to get good vibes, and we're going to take care of them every time. And that bleeds over throughout the year and kind of culminates during South by Southwest. It also happens during F1 as well. Between the networking and the energy, the Takeover felt more like just a party. Have you ever closed a real estate deal? This has got to be Denise asking this question. Have you ever closed a real estate deal because of connections you made at one of these? The answer is absolutely yes. I think for the first 10 years of doing it, Denise probably would have said no. But that's just how, it's taken time. But yeah, absolutely. I've definitely closed multiple deals because of the Takeover and those relationships as well. And also created some lifelong friendships, and more importantly, created some lifelong friendships. Guys, again, this is Paul Smith doing the AMA, stands for Ask Me Anything. It's surprisingly not me. That makes two of us. I'm very surprised. Man, for those watching in X, please go ahead and like and retweet the room. And if you have any questions, please feel free to put it in the comments. See, somebody else said, between the networking and the energy, I already answered that one. I said, I've been coming to these for years. What's the biggest challenge pulling it off this time? Man, I'll tell you what, there was no challenge. Like, this was the easiest low lift South by I think I've ever had. I was very, very not stressed comparatively. Because in the past, if you're doing events where you've got, let's say 20 something DJs taking over Native Hostel with multiple stages, going from, doors at 4 to 4 or 4 to 5, right? And all the stuff that comes with that. This was a much easier South by for me. And I think one of my most favorite things that occurred was the thing that we did at Native on Friday. It was called basically we threw a jazz jam by a gentleman by the name of Mo Betta. Maurice Brown hit me up and he was like, "Hey, I wanna do some jazz music." And so with very very, very little amount of time, literally 4 hours. We had the keys player for Big Frida. We had Gary Clark's drummer. We had Anderson Paak's trumpet player, and then a bassist and a guitarist, as well as Buck on drum, or Buck cutting up, and then Zeely on the mic, as well as Mo on the mic. And dude, the show that they put on was absolutely phenomenal. This was at the Pershing. And a lot of people came up to me and they're like, "What's the name of this band?" And I'm like, "Dude, they just met, like they just sound checked 15 minutes ago." And it was such a dope experience. Like this to me was a show that could have certainly gone on the road if they wanted to. And to me, that's what South by is about. And not necessarily South by. That's what building community and working with creatives is about. At the end of the day, it's about putting a bunch of people together to make dope shit happen. Shout out, I got the chief events officer. Appreciate you, Bray. Thank you, man. Let's see. I know you throw legendary events. How do you juggle work, business while throwing these? That's a great question, man. And the answer to that question is that they're all intertwined, right? So a lot of what I do, for those that don't know, is I run a real estate brokerage. I have a title company. I have a property management company. I do a bunch of real estate development as well. And I also moonlight as somebody that likes to go to music events. And so if you'd like to go to music events, why not be the one that hosts them? And if you go into that with the intent of not necessarily trying to make the most money, but to try to create the dopest experience, that tends to be the thing that I think a lot of people gravitate towards. And so, and also in my real estate world, my business is knowing people. And what better way to network than the person that's actually hosting the event? And I don't know if you guys have ever hosted an event or not. It could be anything from a birthday party to a baby shower, whatever the event is. Everybody thanks the host for putting the event on. Well, what a great opportunity to talk to somebody about the things that you have going on. And that, my friends, is called networking. And so what better way to network than to be the person that everybody wants to come and thank? It's drastically different than if you go to your normal networking events where it's like everybody there's a realtor, everybody there's an insurance person, and you're like, okay, are we going to work together? Maybe. I don't know. Probably not. We all just know why we're here, probably for some free food, maybe a drink or two. But other than that, it's a very forced relationship. Whereas if you're the one that's actually hosting and you're the one that's actually putting on, typically it changes it up just a little bit at that point. As again, it's Paul Smith. I've got a ton of questions. Thank y'all for asking them, by the way. That had to do with with this AMA as we put this out here. This is a very music forward AMA, considering we're just coming out of the week of South by Southwest and whatnot. But man, it was a ton of fun. Let's see. Somebody said, "I know you throw legendary events. How do you juggle?" Oh, we just did that one. Said, "Bro, I swear you pulled this off in record time. Do you have a full team behind the scenes? Or are you just making last minute magic happen?" Shout out to Toshicon, by the way. I've eaten there a bunch in the past week and a half as we were hosting so many great people. Guys, if y'all don't know, Toshicon is a 6-seat restaurant, sushi restaurant that's omakase, that's run by Chef Sane. And it's myself, Sane, and our business partner, CK. And Sane's recently been named to the Michelin Guide. So if you guys want to get a seat at Toshicon, feel free to hit me up. Question was, can we pull this off in record time? There's a full team behind me. I now know who's on the Toshicon account. It's CK. What's up, CK? Full team behind us, or are you just making last minute magic happen? Yeah, I would say it's a little bit of both, right? It's having been down this road so many times that what appears to be hard for other people, I just consider light work in the way of if you get a call from Anderson Paak's people and he's like, let's do an event tomorrow. A lot of people would be like, oh shit, what do we got to do? And I'm just like, let's go. And at that point, there's a few phone calls, we make it happen, and it went off without a hitch. Same thing with the after hours stuff, right? I think I had told Agnes maybe the day before, right? Because I was like, I don't know if I want to do it. And then you have all these people in town, and they're all going to be looking for something to do. So why not be the person that curates that thing? And this is something for y'all out in business as well. For my business owners out there, be the person that creates and curates the experience for your community, whatever community that is. It can be church, it could be fishing, it can be whatever it is. Anything that your folks are, your community and your network is passionate about, be the creator, be the leader in that process. Oh, guys, again, this is Paul Smith with 12 Rivers Realty doing an AMA. Stands for Ask Me Anything. Of course, all these questions are very, very music related because we just came off of South by Southwest. Also, those tuning in on X, please go ahead and like and retweet the room, and we'll start talking about some real estate stuff pretty quickly, as well as we'll start talking about some crypto stuff and just overall market stuff too, kind of what to expect specifically, with tariffs and all that other stuff too. Let's see. Was this the most last minute takeover you ever thrown? The answer is yes. Because if this was what you did with almost no time, I can't even imagine what next year is going to look like. Next year is going to look the exact same. I'm going to try to do as little as possible and make it as dope as possible during that time frame. This year, the time that it took and everything else was significantly less. And to me, that's really, really what I enjoyed about it. Because in the past, I would start working on the takeover in November, December, and it would be November, December, all the way through to the actual event. And it would take me out the first quarter of real estate. And that, you understand too, if I'm out doing music stuff the first week of the first quarter of real estate, unfortunately, Q2 and Q3 tend to get a little bit of a hit. Let's see, we got some other questions here. Have you thought about what you'd want to add or change to take the next event like this to the next level? Do you ever want to think about, okay, how am I going to top last one? That's a great question. The question is, do I ever think about next year and how I'm going to top it? And the answer is no. I used to think that way, right? I would always think about how do you make it bigger? How do you make it better? I mean, shit, one year, myself and Just brought out Jadakiss, Bun B, Freeway, Beanie, Quali, Redman, Cypher Sounds, Jazzy Jeff, Pee Wee, like all these people that were unannounced. And I'm not necessarily sure if that, as far as just the lineup wise, if that will ever be topped. And that's okay at the end of the day, right? That lives in its own, and each one lives on its own. Because really, it's not as much about the event at this point as much as it's bringing the people together and the people connecting at the event. Because one thing I do know is people that go to a takeover event, they're there to dance. They're not there to just kind of, kick their heels back and forth and buy bottles. How will the convention center redo affect what you do? It won't affect what I do necessarily. I think that's a great question, by the way. And the question was, how will the the convention center redo affect what I do? It won't necessarily affect me because I'm doing things in a smaller capacity. I think it's going to affect South by drastically because they're going to have to move into, like the JW Marriott and other places like that. But I'm very South by adjacent. We actually had somebody from South by pop into a couple of our after parties. And I had some great conversations with her. More importantly, about what South by is going to do next year and, kind of their plans going forward. I don't necessarily know if South by called or not, if I would work with them, really. I mean, I really like the lane that I'm in right now. And that's a lane in where it's like I get to bring people together. And, there's kind of no expectations, which I absolutely love. I also like the idea of being able to control and curate the thing. Without a music weekend in 2026... do you plan on filling that void? Bro, what? If a sponsor wants to come in and give me a bunch of money to fill that void, I am definitely down, but I'm not going to spend my money to do it. At the end of the day, I don't think I have to. I think what we did this year was absolutely perfect. One of my favorite stories this year was at the after party. There was a music producer by the name of Falcons from LA. He was there, and then there was another DJ from Philly, and they got a chance to meet and have a great conversation and got to network and create a meaningful relationship. And the Philly DJ came to me. He was like, "Man, I want you to know, like, because of this thing that you're doing right now, I was able to connect with somebody that I'd never be able to connect with." And I was like, "Dude, that's what this is about. It's about connection. It's about creating opportunities for people to create." We got 12 Rivers Realty in the house. Shout out to 12 Rivers. Let's see. How are you approaching the market and pivoting based on your projections for what's to come? Let's see. We're going to shift to real estate real quickly, as as my life is super ADD, our AMAs can be as well. All right. So how are you approaching the market and pivoting based on your projections for what's to come? Well, shit, man. I don't even necessarily know what's to come now. I think a lot of people are very bullish on the U.S. market. I think people are also really afraid to see what's going to happen with the current administration and how that's going to play out, specifically with tariffs. There's a lot of puffing of chest and threatening and then pulling back, and the markets kind of go back and forth. And, really the thing that we have yesterday, so Jerome Powell spoke. He kind of said he's going to keep it more of the same, right? He's not going to change it much. But the one thing that he did say is that he's going to leave the door open for cuts down the road. Now, the market is baking in basically 2 rate cuts over the next until the end of the year. We'll see if that happens, right? I think they were projecting that it was going to be significantly more rate cuts based on last year. But once Trump got elected, everybody became extremely bullish. Obviously, crypto went through the roof. Bitcoin hit 105,000, somewhere in that range. It's certainly retraced, as it does. By the way, this is normal. And by the way, those that were buying Bitcoin at 105, you should definitely be buying Bitcoin in the 70s and 80s. If that's going to be one of your investment strategies, I would 100% advise buying it now versus buying it at 105. And the way that it works, by the way, guys, is you buy it now and you take profits at 105. You take profits at 110. And then you take those profits, you let it drop, and you buy some more. That's the way this works. Versus buying at 105 and then fear selling at 80, 85. That's how you lose money in this game. Look, we all can agree that Bitcoin's not going to go to zero at this point, knock on wood. And having said that, shout out, man. Absolutely, bro. I appreciate you for always attending stuff as well, man. Thanks, back. Again, now is the time. If you're going to buy Bitcoin, buy it now. Let it drop a little bit more. It's going to go up. It's going to go down. You can see, actually, if you look at Bitcoin charts, it ranges. And as long as it's staying within that range, you're good. It's the second that it breaks out of the range that there could be an issue, right? But typically, if it's going to break out at these levels, it's probably going to break out to the top. A lot of the analysts that I'm following feel like that this is a bottom. So if there's something where you're buying Bitcoin in the 80s range, it's going to hit 100, it's going to hit 105. And at that point, if you think about it, you've made, let's say 20%, 30% over the next 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. That's a great return. If you can get 20, 30% in the next 2 to 3 months, take your profits, leave your initials in, and then let it drop, and then buy some more, right? And that's how you do that, and that's the game right there. Having said that, though, like, guys, obviously do your own research, but also make sure you do your own research and don't buy when everybody's FOMOing in, because that's about the worst time that you could possibly do that. And dude, crypto's obviously been getting killed over the past, past month and a half, 2 months. Let's see. Somebody said here, was this the most last minute? Yes, it was. This takeover was unreal. Thank you so much, by the way. I appreciate that, considering literally how little work I did on it. Do you see events like this as part of your real estate strategy, or is this something you do for the city? I think it's a little of both. I think I touched on this already. But on the real estate side of things, doing events like this is it works out really well for me because it gives me an opportunity to meet people. This year, the first half of this year, I was hanging out with, heads of Morgan Stanley's athlete and artist division, the head of their global initiative for investments. And so I was really fortunate to be able to do that. And a lot of that is because of the real estate space, but also the music space as well. Let's see. Austin market is shifting. Do you think big networking events like Takeover play a role in building real business relationships in real estate, or deals happen in a different space? The answer is yes and yes. Dude, deals definitely happen at spaces like this, but really what it does is it opens up doors. But regardless, okay, let me rephrase this. I don't think that deals are happening at the space, at the event. What's happening at the event is the curation of a. What's happening at the event is essentially just a curation of a or an opportunity to create a relationship. Guys, the main thing though, when you're meeting people at events, it doesn't matter what event you're meeting them at. If you don't follow up, then don't fucking do it. Like at the end of the day, if you meet somebody, make sure you're following up. Otherwise, you're putting yourself in a situation where you're just doing a bunch of networking and not doing anything there for it. See, we got some current events going on. Caldwell County, a small boom, a big potential. Guys, now we're gonna shift over to the Austin real estate market and talk about Austin in general. Caldwell County is Lockhart. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but Lockhart is a town that is about 25 minutes outside of Austin, just down 183. It's like where the creative class has moved in Austin. So unfortunately, as Austin has kind of grown, it's gentrified, and creative class went from 78704 over to 78702. So that's South Austin to East Austin. And as the prices have gone up, the creative class, your artists, have basically gotten priced out. So that means that they've gone and moved to another area, and that area is Lockhart. And I don't know if anybody's gone to Lockhart and seen the town that they have there, but it's so cute. It was known for barbecue. Now it's going to be known for a lot of other things. And if you haven't got a chance to go hang out at First Fridays at Lockhart, it's a ton of fun. Shout out to my old operations director, Lindsay Trumper. She opened up a spot called Thornbread, and it is absolutely it's so dope. If you're there, grab a coffee, grab a plant, all that fun stuff. I do think that Caldwell County is the next boom. Land is relatively cheap, and the proximity to it's easy to get to Tesla. It's easy to get to all the things that are going to be Elon Musk in that Southeast corridor. Let's see, Meta's major Texas energy deal. What happened? Meta secured a deal to power its expanded Texas data centers. Why it matters? Okay. Guys, I don't know if y'all know this or not, but data centers are the future, right? It's like, what's going to house all this AI? What's going to house all this technology? All the stuff that's propelling NVIDIA, Tesla, Apple, all this, that's going to be propelled. They're going to need things like data centers. So there's a company out of Dubai called Damac that's doing a lot with data centers currently in the US and Europe. And the thing is, you need to be able to secure the power for this. And so the fact that Meta has secured power for this in Texas, I'm not surprised. The crazy thing about Texas is we're actually not a part of the grid, right? So ERCOT is not a part of the federal grid. Texas, obviously, always being Texas is like fucking like come and get it type shit. Is like, you know what? We're not going to be a part of the gas grid. We're going to be part of our own, which unfortunately sometimes that means that grid goes down. Having said that, with power, specifically with data centers and with Bitcoin mining centers, a lot of times when there's a push on that grid, they're actually able to throttle down the power a little bit, which will help then give power back to the grid. One of the things is when ERCOT is getting tested for energy because of, let's say it's a freeze or we have a significant heat event in some way, shape, or form, that really tests the grid and the power that's needed. And a lot of times with these data centers, they're actually able to throttle down that power and give that power back to the grid or take less of the power in the grid. So it's huge. I'm not surprised. You're going to see a ton of data centers popping up everywhere. I know Microsoft and Bill Gates Foundation, Warren Buffett Foundation, they're doing a bunch of stuff up in Wyoming area as they're building a couple new nuclear power plants up there. I think you're going to see a lot more shift to nuclear. Also, like in the Denton area up by Fort Worth, there's currently a nuclear power plant running up there, but they actually have the ability to do two. And I think that's going to be something that's huge down the road because, again, data centers are the future. Let's see. Texas, $2.5 billion bet on the film industry. Dude, I don't know if y'all know this or not, but there's a huge push right now to get film out of California. There's a huge push to get people to move from California to Texas, to Louisiana, to Georgia. And currently, Texas offers a 22% rate for production costs, right? So if you're doing a production, they'll give you a 22% tax break on the production that you're doing. Well, Atlanta, so Georgia and Louisiana have been doing 40%. So there's been a push to try to get Texas to bump up to that 20%, or from that 20% to a 40% level. That's going to make it more advantageous for actors and artists to film in Austin, Central Texas, and not only that, but in Texas in general. And if you couple that with the fact that there's not a state income tax, that's a huge benefit for people to come here. And a lot of times these productions are bringing hundreds of millions of dollars worth of economic boom to the state. So I'm excited about that. I don't know if you guys know, there's a large film studio, 500-acre film studio that's growing and blowing up in the Bastrop area, which is real cool. And that's going to be something that we have here. 500-acre film production studio is large, and the fact that it's in Bastrop, which is only 20 minutes from downtown Austin, is going to be big. That's one of many reasons why I love Bastrop, by the way. As they're widening 290 out towards Houston, they're going to make it, they're going to make Bastrop, instead of just doing a stoplight, two stoplights, they're going to make it similar to like what they did at 183A, where now it's going to be a highway that goes through. So that's going to make the real estate on the other side of Bastrop significantly more expensive. So if you guys are thinking about where's a good place to buy, or where's a good place to buy and still be within like a 40-minute drive to Austin, I love Bastrop. I love Taylor because of the stuff that's happening with Samsung. But anywhere that you see a large increase in highway development, typically that means the cities that were 40 minutes out now become 20 minutes out. And that's also where you're going to start to see more HEBs pop up, right? You're going to start to see infrastructure. And as that infrastructure starts to come, you're going to find, as that infrastructure grows, you're going to see more homes. And as you start to see more homes, you start to see more of a community. And to me, now would be an early time to invest out in that area. Can Austin stay weird? Okay, somebody just put in, can Austin stay weird? Well, we'll see. It's interesting, right? Because South by Southwest is evolving. Corporate influence and city growth equals changing identity. Concern: can it stay true to Austin's original culture while expanding? Big question: is South by Southwest adapting or losing what made it special? Man, I think one of the things that makes Austin so special, and you guys tell me, but I think one of the things that makes Austin so special is that we support local. We support individuality. We support growth. We support we support the individual company. We're not with the exception of Chili's on 45, we're not a huge go out and eat at Cheddar's. We're not a huge go out and eat at Chili's. Austin is anti-chain in a lot of ways. And it's interesting to watch and the reason for that is because then once that happens, everything starts to look the same. For the same thing that I was talking about off of 183A or Bastrop, as it starts to grow, you start to get the same type of buildings, the same restaurants in each one, the same way, right? Every 10 miles, every 20 miles, you're going to have a Whataburger. You're going to have a Chick-fil-A. You're going to have a Chili's. You're going to have a Cheddar's. You're going to have a whatever that is. And it's the same thing over and over and over again. And one thing that I loved about Austin, and specifically Keep Austin Weird, was it supported individuality. And I think as we grow and more people come to Austin, the thing that attracts them to Austin, aside from great jobs and a lower tax rate on income tax, is because everybody typically that's here wants to be here. That's the great thing about this town, this city. That's not the case in a bunch of other towns and other cities. So the fact that everybody wants to be here and everybody's happy to be here for the most part is important, because that's what creates the culture of Austin. And that individuality, that also helps create the culture of Austin. And that's why it's important that Austin is really trying to promote what's called their smart housing program. So over the next year, Austin actually has the most affordable housing homes being built versus any other city. And obviously city council is getting railed for this, right? Because the thing that makes Austin so dope is the creative class. And if the creative class is getting pushed out to, say, Caldwell County and Lockhart, that's a problem. Yeah, we're also seeing it in the real estate market, right? If you start to see everybody start to look the same, how do you find out who to hire? What's that individuality? What's the thing that makes that person different than the other person? Because if all the branding's the same, if all the marketing's the same, then why would I just not jump on an app and hire somebody at that point? What makes you? That's what I want to hire. And that's the thing I hope that Austin can stay. And I believe it can. That's what we're trying to do out here, by the way. We're trying to create that level of connection, and hopefully we're doing it. Guys, again, this is Paul Smith with 12 Rivers Realty hosting an AMA. Guys, if you're on, if you're on X, if you're on Twitter, feel free to like and retweet the room. Would love to get everybody in here. And also, guys, if you're on X and Twitter, if you guys have any questions, let me know. And also, same thing on Twitch. Thank y'all that tuned in on Twitch, YouTube, because again, we're streaming live on Instagram, we're streaming live on Twitter, we're streaming live on Twitch, as well as what's the other one? I guess YouTube. Guys, if anybody has any questions about real estate, please feel free to let me know. The Austin market right now is sitting at about 3.1 months supply, which actually isn't necessarily that much. They say that a market has hit equilibrium, which means it's an equal buyers and sellers market at 6 months supply. And we're currently sitting at 3.1 months supply, which is, it feels like a lot. I think a lot of people are seeing that if homes are priced well, they're selling quickly. If homes aren't priced well, they're not selling quickly. And that's just the truth of it. It's like, there's a fine line there, y'all. And if you list your home properly up front, I promise you're going to get more money. And that might sound counterintuitive to be like, why would I list my home at a lower price point to get more money? That's because if your home is priced too high to start, all of a sudden it sits on the market longer and you're not getting the activity that you think that you should be getting, or you're not getting activity at all because it's overpriced. And then you get that one offer that comes in, and that offer is well below your asking price. And you got to work with that buyer because you got to negotiate with that buyer. You are then in a process where they're then asking for additional things that you may or may not accept. And ultimately you end up with a less price versus if you nail the price from the beginning, you're going to end up potentially in multiple offers depending on the property. Because dude, the one thing I will say about the Austin market is that it's, if it's priced well, it will definitely sell. I think that is the absolute truth. There's definitely people that are looking to buy in the market. Again, guys, this is Paul Smith with 12 Rivers Realty. This is an AMA, so it's Ask Me Anything. What's this today? March 20th. Just had South by, kind of coming off that, just kind of South by, just nostalgia and really just thinking about all the people that I put into my phone that I need to connect with. Yeah, this is one thing too. If you met somebody at South by, or you're like, man, we vibed really well, definitely reach out to them. Don't wait till next year to hit them up again, right? Definitely hit them up, follow up. If they live in another city, go see them. Really forge that relationship because you just never know what's going to happen from that, right? It could be something dope that happens. It could be like, oh shit, you're at Coachella, I'm at Coachella, let's hang, whatever that is. Awesome. As again, Paul Smith. Thoughts, if any, on Indianapolis, the Indianapolis market? I'll be honest, I don't know a whole lot about Indy. I do know a fair amount about Ohio, and so I don't necessarily know how that, John, what's good, man? Dude, it's great to see you over South by this year, by the way. Thanks for coming out. Thoughts, if any, on Indianapolis market? I don't know a whole lot about Indy. I don't necessarily know what are the driving factors in it. I will say this, though. If you're in a city and you're thinking about buying in that city or thinking about investing in that city, take one step back and look at what are the economic drivers of the city, right? What are the different areas, right? If it's a city that's, revolves around steel and coal and things that are, essentially 19th century and it's not reinventing itself, I think that would give me a pause to give you some sort of a concern as far as investing goes. But if it's a city that's doing something like, for example, like Pittsburgh, right? Pittsburgh is reinventing itself. It was a Rust Belt city, and now it's really jumping into biotech. To me, that's an opportunity, right? I know that there's several cities in Ohio that are doing the same thing. Also, too, why are you buying this property, right? Are you buying this property for your family to live in? Are you buying this property for an investment property? And then, too, if you're going to take that money and invest it, what's going to be the ROI on that property, right? If I put $25,000 down and buy a duplex, for example. Actually, those is real numbers. In Cleveland, a friend of mine bought a duplex for $150,000, which meant he bought it with $30,000 down, and it was cash flowing $1,000 a month. Well, if you think about that, right, a $30,000 investment, cash flowing $1,000 a month, that's $12,000 positive cash flow annually on a $30,000 investment. So how long would it take for you to get your money back? In this case, it's returns your capital in 2.5 years. So in 2.5 years, you now have a asset that's paid down with all your money out of it. That's cash flowing. That, to me, if you're in an area like that, that's a no-brainer, especially if you're buying in an area where you see it, where there's a bunch of jobs coming and other things. That means that your investment is going to outpace potentially other parts of the world and other things like that. So yeah, I think depending on the market, it could be a buy, could not be a buy. I don't necessarily know, but I will say I think overall long term in the U.S. market, we're gonna need not short term rentals, but long term market, we're gonna need single family homes, and that's why BlackRock and Vanguard are looking to purchase freaking 60% of the rentals in the U.S. market, is because they know how much single family product that we need. Guys, again, this is Paul Smith doing an AMA. If you guys are tuned into Twitch, man, we got 93 people on Twitch. Shout out to X. Thanks for y'all tuning in. Please like and retweet the room. As if you have any questions, please let me know. What's up? Oh no. Shit. Let's go. Man, what are y'all's thoughts on the tariff situation? Thank you so much for this answer. Yeah, dude, I think it's, do a little bit of research, and also check out what's called a gross rent multiplier, right? It's basically your percentage of the monthly rent versus the price, right? Prime example, if you have a $100,000 property that's leased out for $1,000 a month, that's a gross rent multiplier of 1, right? So it's basically 1% of the price is a gross rent multiplier. That's a real easy way to figure out, just cash flow and stuff like that. You can then kind of take a step forward and get into cap rates and everything else. And that's typically where you're working with commercial real estate. A lot of times is where they'll talk about cap rates. But I typically think about, when I'm investing in real estate, is when can I get my initial investment back? Whether that's something that's over time with cash flow, or if that's something where I can do a cash out refi. The nice thing with real estate is a lot of times you can buy something, fix it up, and then raise the value. And after 6 months, if the value is substantially higher, you can do a cash out refi, pull your initial equity out of it, and now you don't have anything into that property, right? So now you're controlling a property without any equity into it. And guys, real estate isn't about owning real estate. It's about controlling real estate. So think about that. What does that mean? Well, if I'm controlling real estate, it means how little of my money can I have in it while I still control it? And if it's still cash flow positive, that's phenomenal. That means that I'm making an infinite return on my money without having anything in it. And that's what I love about real estate. You can't really do that in crypto. It's pretty tough to do that as well in stocks, where you can pull out your whole investment and still have access to the cash flow, but then have access to the appreciation and everything else as well. Again, it's not about owning it. It's about controlling it. And that's my thought on real estate. Guys, if anybody else has any more questions, please let me know. We're coming up to the end of our hour. This is a Ask Me Anything. My name is Paul Smith with 12 Rivers Realty. And Ask Me Anything, literally AMA. And today we've talked about South by. We've talked about real estate. We've talked a little bit about crypto. Interest rates came down a little bit. I think we dipped down into the low 6s. I really think if we hit something in the low 5s, this market's going to go nuts. I think this market across the board is going to go nuts. I think people want to own homes, specifically in some markets. Not all markets are the same, right? So owning a home in LA and New York might be different than owning a home in Austin. Definitely different than owning a home in, say, Cleveland or Indianapolis, something like that. So definitely let me know what y'all think on that. Again, this is Paul Smith doing an AMA. I'm going to sign off for now. If you have any questions throughout the week, let me know. And if you guys are looking to buy or sell some real estate, hit me up. Again, appreciate y'all so much. Be good.